My first ghost investigation took place in late January, early February, after my unboxings of my first pieces of ghost hunting equipment. But I'm not a ghost hunter, I'm a ghost investigator. I investigate evidence of spirits, and even in the short time I've been doing it, I've found tons of evidence. Overwhelming, over-the-top, undeniable voices on a recording. In a human voice that was clearly in close proximity to the recorder, that was invisible, that I didn't hear at the time, only playing it back. The very first investigation I really did with equipment, and I could say I did do some investigations in Tucson, Arizona without equipment, but if you don't have a camera, if you don't have an EMF meter, if you don't have anything, it's a lot less of an investigation, more of just a preliminary scouting out the place. So I did some, scouting of some places to see if I could tell. I don't necessarily need devices. I can literally tell. I was in Tombstone last weekend, and I went to the place that I already sensed was particularly haunted, and I took the EMF meter. You will see that video in the future. But the very first investigation I ever did with equipment was an antique mall that advertised itself as being haunted. Supposedly, employees see the furniture moved into the aisles, just moved all around upstairs. I didn't know this story until after I did the investigation. And I was lucky. I did get my very first reading, which I believe came from a legitimate spirit. Not from a power outlet, not from power lines, not from a cell phone, not from a cell tower, but from a chair, a wooden chair. I got a 4.4 spike. At the same time I got that spike, you can hear audibly a sound that sounds like air. And not all EVPs are going to be voices. Definitely the ones that are an immediate reaction to something you're saying in a language you can understand and hear is a lot better of an EVP. Scientifically speaking, a scientist can't dispute, hey, that's a voice, it said something, that's what it said very clearly. But nevertheless, this is still an EVP. Spirits don't always communicate in English or a known language. Sometimes they'll just make noises. Like my tunnel video, where it made what it sounded like an animal sound. This EVP sounds like air, and it creates the illusion that it came from the EMF device. The EMF device does not make this noise, not even close. On top of that, the device was on mute. I muted the device because I didn't want to bother the customers and get kicked out of the store. I didn't want to bother the employees, and I wasn't. None of the employees bothered me. I'm going to go back. This is a perfect place to go back. The upstairs is definitely haunted. And after I went upstairs and discovered the upstairs is the only place I got a spike with what I think is an EVP. Judge for yourself, but that noise doesn't have any source. It didn't come from anywhere, and it exactly coincides with the spike. And I guarantee you, that sound did not come from the device. The device makes a beeping sound. I think it's beep, 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 beep. It's not even close to, it's not even close to that sound. But I was told after I left that there are spirits that move the furniture upstairs, and the employees the next day have to rearrange the furniture every single morning because at night the ghost moves around the furniture, pulls the furniture into the aisles specifically. So they have to put it back so people can walk around up there, and there was no one up there. It was a perfect place to investigate. Just secondhand furniture. I found the corner, perhaps the spirit's favorite chair. Perhaps the spirit is attached to that chair in some way. But I think it's more the fact that nobody lives up there. Spirits love abandoned places. If something's abandoned, even a store overnight, they will occupy it. It's just their nature. Their logic is illogical many of the times from the perspective of humans. But I also wanted to know if objects could be cursed, haunted, emit EMF radiation. So after walking through the entire store, unlucky, not really getting any readings, this is before I went upstairs and found the spike with the 4.4, I saw a booth that had a crystal ball and some magical implements and a lot of authentic African art, statues, sculptures, carvings. And I figured, don't judge a book by its cover, but maybe if these are authentic ritual used items from Africa, maybe there's some chance. And I did get some readings, nothing as high as a 4.4, but you can see that I did get some readings on some of these statues, particularly the carving. It was a pretty low spike, but a spike nonetheless. May have changed my mind a little bit. See, I'm still skeptical whether items can be cursed and possessed. I've never been to the Haunted Museum, and even if I did, you're not allowed to bring in any devices. So go to an antique mall, grab one of these EMF devices. I'm going to go back with my Mel meters. If you can't afford a Mel meter, this device, this EMF meter I used, cost $10. I think if anyone's really interested, you can afford that. But at the same time, don't turn it on at your house. Don't investigate thoroughly. It can attract entities to come bother you. You bother them, they will bother you. Spirits hate, at least this is the majority of spirits, hate being seen. They love being invisible. They embody invisibility. They enjoy invisibility. They revel in invisibility. And when you have a device that shows 4.4, for a split second, they're no longer invisible from the perspective of this device reading them. They're no longer invisible. Now, there might be an exception with an entity that's very talkative and wants to talk a lot. So I would be wary of both kinds. Both the ones that want to stay invisible, I'd be wary of. And the ones that are very talkative and want to follow you home, I would be even more wary of. You have to really keep a healthy balance in ghost investigating. I just wanted to share with you my very first ghost investigation with equipment. Stay tuned, more episodes coming soon. Be seeing you.